so many new pieces to this IU football team.
To me, that's going to set the tone on how you get ready for games on Saturday in the fall.
I would put that Indiana room up against anybody else in the conference, and that's something that we typically don't even come close to saying.
If you want to get total sickos committee about it, there's a position battle at long snapper too.
This is the Hoosier Huddle Podcast, part of the College Huddle Podcast Network.
All right, welcome into the Hoosier Huddle Podcast, a national championship edition. How about that, TJ?
Yeah, our 16th game preview of the season, and obviously none bigger than what's coming up on Monday night.
Monday night in South Florida, Miami Gardens, Hard Rock Stadium. Your number 1 Indiana Hoosiers take on the number 10 Miami Hurricanes at 7:30, which means they'll kick off at 7:45-ish. And emphasize on the ish. It's on ESPN. ESPN also put out a whole bunch of ways to watch this game. They have the coach's room. I put the graphic out on our Twitter as well. If you have the ESPN app, and I think if you have YouTube TV, you get it included. You can listen to Don Fisher synced up to the game on TV on the hometown radio call. Which also means you could listen to Buck make fun of me, which is all the reason more to tune into the hometown radio broadcast. Man, it has been quite a journey. Indiana's 15-0 coming into this game. Miami 13-2. Quickly, we'll go through how they got there through the playoff. Indiana earned a first-round bye. They won the Big Ten. They played and destroyed Alabama in the Rose Bowl 38-3. They went to the Peach Bowl, beat Oregon 56-22. Miami might be the hottest team, hitting their stride at the right time. Miami finished the regular season 10-2. They were the last team in the field. They go to Texas A&M it's an insult to rock fights, but it was a rock fight, 10-3 win over Texas A&M. They play Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. They beat them 24-14 in a game that Miami got off to a quick start. They scored first, went up 7-0. Julian Sain throws a bad pick six. Great play by the defensive back to jump that route on the screenplay. But it's 14-0. Ohio State kind of claws back, and then Miami pulls away at the end. And then, of course, we saw in the Fiesta Bowl, they defeated Ole Miss 27-24. It was a back-and-forth game. Miami scores, what was it, 20 seconds left, 18 seconds left?
Yeah.
And then Ole Miss had a shot at the end zone. Could have been pass interference. There was no way they were going to call it. In a million zillion years are they calling that pass interference, even though it could have been. They hold on. They go to the national title game. TJ, what are your initial thoughts of this? It seems like IU's got their machine running well, and Miami's hitting their stride at the right time.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Miami, and they've said it publicly, after their second loss, when it really seemed like their playoff chances were all but extinguished, and their goals for the season were off the table. They had a players-only meeting, which can go one of two ways. It can either galvanize a team, or it can have the team come out and say, "Hey, we had a players-only meeting, and now everything's great." And then they keep playing the same way, right? And it doesn't do anything. For them, apparently it worked because they had been playing much better. Obviously, you mentioned the win over Ohio State. That was the big surprise for me. I was not surprised they beat Texas A&M. Yes, it was ugly, extremely windy that game. So hard to know what to take out of it. The win over Ohio State, that was impressive because they they did what Indiana did. They controlled the lines of scrimmage against the Buckeyes. And that's the obviously the part that we'll talk about here in this preview is Miami's strength up front on both sides of the ball. The game against Ole Miss almost goes exactly to the Mario Cristobal script, right? Where Miami appears to be the better team. Miami appears to be kind of dominating, but they keep making self-inflicted mistakes, penalties, turnovers, and you look up and Ole Miss is in the game and then takes the lead. And it's like, wow, Miami's gonna give this one away. But credit to them, Carson Beck orchestrates a really nice drive and runs it in for the game-winning score, and they hold on. Certainly playing their best football. Is it enough to beat Indiana the way that IU is playing? I would say no, but the way that IU has been playing does not automatically mean that that is the way they will play after another 10-day layoff, right? It's what has occurred up to this point is relevant to give you context for the game. But once that ball kicks off, everything that happened previously does not matter. I think both coaching staffs will tell you they're 0-0 and need to go 1-0 this week one more time, right? That's been the mantra for IU is go 1-0 this week. And for the championship, it's do it one final time. When you look at Miami, you have to start up front. They have a massive offensive line. They want to run the ball. They're very physical. Mario Cristobal's team, he believes, should be the most physical team every time they take the field. Indiana believes the same thing. They want to be the most physical team as well. These are, by most estimations, two of the most physical and imposing teams in the country this season. And it's not a mistake that they've made the national title game as a result. Miami's offensive line, gigantic with size. Mark Fletcher Jr., a very, very good running back, runs it, I think, similar to K'Lon Black, right, in that he seeks out that contact.
Except that he's a little bit bigger than K'Lon Black.
He is bigger.
6'2".
Yep.
Was he 6'2", 225?
Yep. It's him and then Brown have been kind of the rotation. I think you'll see a very heavy dose of Mark Fletcher. And then on defense, on the other side of the ball, their defensive line, possibly the best in the country. Depending on who you ask, they're certainly among the best. Mesidor and Ruben Bain, fantastic 1-2 punch on the defensive line. And then they accentuate that with some really interesting pressures. Defensive coordinator Corey Heatherman coming to Miami from Minnesota. Prior to that, he worked for Curt Cignetti at James Madison. And Cignetti talked glowingly about Heatherman. And I don't think that was just butter him up coach speak. I think that there is a significant amount of respect from Curt Cignetti to Heatherman. So they bring pressure in different ways. You'll see kind of a heat-seeking missile, Keontae Scott, out of the backfield as the defensive secondary as kind of a safety that gets a lot of tackles for loss. I think he has 13 and a half of them on the season. Really, really impactful player, similar to an Amari Farrell, but they use him more as a blitzer than Indiana does their safeties. So it's a really interesting matchup at the lines of scrimmage, pivoting to the skill positions, their receivers. Malachi Toney, dynamic threat that can change a game every time he touches the ball.
He's thrown the ball 7 times this year.
Yep. And they will do I hesitate to call them trick plays, but they will use some gadget plays to get the ball into Tony's hands. Their receivers block really well. That's part of their running game. It's part of their mentality. They do block really well. The question, I think, for Miami on the offensive side of the ball, number one, can they control possession? And I'll talk about that a little bit later. Number two, can Carson Beck play a clean game? He's got 6 interceptions in their 2 losses. That was 4 against Louisville, a game that he played terrible in that game, and then 2 against SMU, which was their second loss. Can he play a clean game for 60 minutes against a team that punishes every mistake you make? That'll be a big concern for Miami's offensive coaching staff, to put him in positions to be successful. But, you won't be able to just play super safe against IU's defense. You'll have to take some chances. Can Carson Beck make the most of them, or will he put the ball in harm's way?
Yeah, and we'll stay on Beck here for a second. I've been watching some Miami games from earlier in the year, and it was the Notre Dame game. Something minor happened that kind of screwed up the offense.
Mm-hmm.
I think either forced them to take a timeout to get a false start, and he just berates people and throws fits. And this is a defense that confuses quarterbacks, can frustrate quarterbacks, and how he handles that on the mental side of it. We've seen him in post game press conferences throw receivers under the bus after the Louisville game. Receivers didn't go the right way. All that stuff is he one that is going to throw a fit if Indiana has success on defense and kind of puts them into frustrating situations? Because those are the players that you kind of love to play against, and you kind of chuckle at, going, man, you're just beating yourself. If you don't throw a fit, you'd be fine. But that's what he does. The offensive line, I mean, this seems like it's been a story all year, and I know Nick Rodenkamp started it off against, I think it was Illinois, the first time, and we kind of gave him some grief over that, but now it's a bit saying that Indiana's defensive line is too small. Brian Haynes cooked him on it the first time. Bigger and slower isn't necessarily better than, quick, fast, athletic guys on the defensive line. Your defensive line is automatically going to be lighter than your offensive line. But I mean, last week against Oregon, there was a spin move that Mikael Kamara didn't even touch the offensive lineman, and the offensive lineman is on his butt, on his rear end, watching Mikael Kamara go by him, going, "What in the world just happened?"
Yeah, he folded like a chair.
Yeah, it was almost like, I'm sure you practice this on your basketball team, TJ, the old pull the chair out from under you in the paint move. That's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah.
They have good tackles. I think where you could get Miami's offensive line is at center. They might be a little heavy-footed and slow-footed. They do have tight splits, which makes it tough to slip through gaps and shoot gaps and stuff like that, which Indiana loves to do. But Indiana, what Brian Haynes does really well is they gear their game plan to each individual team. This isn't like, oh, we're just going to go play the same way we played Oregon or Ohio State or whatever, and they'll adjust to us. They adjust to the opponent as well as anybody in the college game.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And that the comparison, looking back on, okay, which opponents can we kind of say, all right, Miami, we think will try to attack Indiana like this team did. And I think the best comparisons that I've found have been Iowa and Penn State. And I think that those are the blueprints that Miami will try to use. Now, of course, Miami has significantly better athletes than Iowa does, and they're I don't know if their athletes are better than Penn State's, but they're certainly at equal footing, probably a little better than Penn State's. Now, when I say that, I mean in terms of controlling the ball, trying to win time of possessions, shrink the number of opportunities that IU's offense has the ball. That's much easier said than done, right? It's very hard to execute that, but we have seen Miami successfully do it here in this postseason with multiple 15-plus play drives. And I'm sure that their game plan will be double-digit play drives, get into third and short, convert on third and short, keep the chains moving, keep IU's offense on the sideline, wear down the Indiana defense, right? Lean on them, and then get yourself into the red zone and find a way to finish off those drives with touchdowns. That's the plan, I'm sure.
Yep. I mean, that's the plan of every team.
Exactly.
Let's hold on to the ball for as long as we can, score a touchdown, and not get back.
Yeah, whether or not you have the discipline to go on those drives without making mistakes to put you off schedule and allow Indiana's defense to get you in a third and long instead of third and short, and then you're going against one of the best third down defense teams in the country, and your drive stalls out, you either turn it over or punt it away, and IU's defense or offense gets on the field. So it's a relatively easy plan to know. It's how you go about executing that. I do think that Miami will understand they're going to have to take some shots as well. And Carson Beck had a number of opportunities against Ole Miss to hit long pass plays, and he was off the mark.
Yep.
On a number of occasions.
The one to Tony, I mean, probably if it's caught as a touchdown.
Yes.
And, he's saying the receiver went the wrong way, but it was just a bad throw too.
Yep.
What will help Miami is if they could get out to a lead. They did that against Ohio State.
Yep.
Nobody really led in that Texas A&M game, but they could control the game on the ground where it's like, okay, our defense is going to hold their offense and we don't have to worry about it. Yep. And then against Ole Miss, they got out. It wasn't a big lead, but they kind of, they once they got up 10-7, then it was okay. You kind of held serve. You hold Ole Miss to 2 long field goals.
Yeah.
And then a short one to take the lead. They didn't really capitalize on stacking those scores. They finally took the lead 24-19. Ole Miss comes back 27-24 with 3 minutes left. And then, they go on a 15-play, 75-yard drive for a touchdown. If Miami could get out to a lead, then you could start implementing that. We're going to run the ball, those 15-play drives. And that's what Iowa did well. Iowa really, and Michigan State did it too, except Michigan State's defense couldn't stop IU, where each team has a drive or two, and all of a sudden there's 5 minutes left in the first half. And you're like, where the heck did this game go? So I think scoring first is going to be a key to this game. Whoever scores first has the advantage there. Of course, against Oregon, that the pick six set the tone there, and then your offense went to work. And once it was 14-7, you kind of figured that, Oregon's defense can't stop IU.
Right.
And they're going to have to play a perfect game. And you said discipline. Miami's 80th in the country or so in penalties. They turn the ball over. Can they be disciplined and mistake-free, kind of like Oregon wasn't, where all of a sudden, you go through that IU avalanche where it's touchdown, defense gets a defensive stop or fumble, another touchdown. You go 3 and out on a couple sacks, another touchdown, and then a fumble and another, and all of a sudden it's 35-7. And if you're an Oregon fan, you're going, what the heck just happened? And IU's done that to a lot of people. They really did it to Penn State too. And I'm a firm believer, if they score a touchdown off that interception right out of halftime and it's 24-7, that game is a blowout. I think IU let them off the hook. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
But, if they're going to follow the Iowa game plan, okay. I mean, I use one in every single way they have this season. You want to play Iowa's game? Indiana's won at that. They've won a couple games like that. You want to try and get into a shootout? Okay. Indiana's going to score more than most people. You want to get aggressive like Alabama tried to do? And that set the tone for the game, was that 16-play drive that ended up in a field goal where Alabama was scared to death to give the ball back to IU.
Yeah.
It's like, look, we can't stop them. We might as well give them the ball at the 40 and get the ball back a little sooner. The middle 8 has also been a real good thing for IU. You go back to that Iowa game, that field goal they get right before halftime. I think there was like 30 or 50 seconds left when they got the ball back. Gave them momentum. The same with Oregon the next week. Now, I don't think Brandon Frankie's going to play. And you're on natural grass and outdoors, so maybe 50 yards is your limit on field goals. But, yeah, it's going to come down to who could execute and get touchdowns in the red zone, who does not turn the ball over, and are those penalties going to come back and bite Miami? Because you could be driving and all of a sudden you get a holding penalty on 2nd and 9 and it's 2nd and 19, and you're going to ask Carson Beck to go make a couple plays and win you a game, which he's capable of. But if you're IU, that's what you want him to do, is throw against his secondary.
Yes. Yeah. Pons and Sharp and Lewis Moore and Amari Farrell, they will punish a poorly thrown ball or a miscommunication with your receiver. They'll punish any mistake that you make. One of the things Miami really presents as a problem on defense, they're able often to get to the quarterback with only their front 4.
Yep.
They don't. It's not that they won't blitz, but they don't need to blitz a lot in order to get pressure. That's, the benefit of having 2 fantastic pass rushers in Mesidor and Reuben Bain. Both of them are really good against the run, but obviously their money at the next level is going to be made because of their ability to get to, I guess their money now is being made because of their ability to get to the quarterback. And Indiana's offensive line has been great. They're playing their best football of really any era of IU football that I can remember for an offensive line. And this will be a gigantic challenge for them. Going against those 4, if you can control that Miami defensive front, Miami's defense can be had. If you can control those guys, Fernando Mendoza can absolutely pick apart this secondary. They're 50th in yards allowed. They're good, but it is not a no-fly zone secondary here. This is a defense that you can get yardage against if you can protect your quarterback and stay out of obvious pass rush situations. And I think that both teams have shown they want to set the tone by being physical and running the ball. They're both good at it. For all the talk about how physical Miami is and how much they want to run the ball, IU runs it more than Miami does. Indiana runs it almost more than anybody, non-military academy. I mean, they're like 63% of plays are run plays. Now, a big part of that is because IU has had a lot of leads in the second halves of games, and they just bludgeon you by running the ball and killing the clock. And that's the game script they want to follow this time too. Looking at time of possession, I thought this was interesting. And it's not certainly a perfect stat by any means, but I thought it was interesting that Indiana has played 7 games this season against teams that are in the top 50 nationally in time of possession. Okay. Miami has only played 2. So Miami's 4th in time of possession nationally. They average 34 minutes and 6 seconds. IU right behind them at 33 minutes and 15 seconds. 6th in the country. So both teams excel at controlling possession, which makes perfect sense, right? That's exactly what you'd expect given how the two teams want to play. But Indiana has faced a lot more competition against teams that also want to play that way. Ohio State, Oregon twice, Illinois, Iowa, Alabama, and Oregon. Or Oregon the second time.
Wisconsin's right there at 49 too.
And Wisconsin. So 7 games against those. From Miami, it's Texas A&M and Ohio State are the only 2 that were top 50 nationally in time of possession. And obviously those are 2 playoff games for them. They were soundly beaten by A&M in that category. A&M had it 33 minutes and 14 seconds. But Miami had it for 33-20 against Ohio State, and they crushed Ole Miss in time of possession, which makes sense. Ole Miss doesn't want to have the ball in offense. They want quick strike, right?
Yep.
Quick strike offense, big plays, really almost a polar opposite of how Indiana wants to approach it. So I thought it was interesting. Not sure entirely what that means, given that both teams want to play that way. But IU has had more experience playing teams that really excel at that style of play, and obviously have been able to win each of those games. So, maybe a slight edge to Indiana in terms of knowing how to approach that type of opponent.
Yeah, and Miami played their best game of the season against Ohio State. And I've talked to a couple of Miami people, and they've said, look, if we play the way we did against Ole Miss, against you guys, we're probably going to get beat. Can they duplicate what they did against Ohio State again? They've only done it really once this year. They didn't play great against Notre Dame in the opener, but it's an opener. And then, the ACC, you can say what you want about their schedule. The ACC wasn't great. I mean, their champion didn't even get into the playoff. They beat Florida State 28-22, but that's a game Miami got up huge and then kind of let Florida State back in it. Stanford stinks. Virginia Tech was kind of back and forth, 34-17.
Dominated South Florida.
Yeah, the South Florida's coming off a win
but
over bad Florida team. It was a good win at the time over South Florida. So, they have some good wins, but they also have not put together that game like Ohio State, where you could go and have about Indiana's best game they played. Was it at Oregon? Was it Alabama in the Rose Bowl? Was it Oregon in the Peach Bowl? Was it Ohio State in the Big Ten title game? Which wasn't, it was, Indiana played all right. They didn't play perfect. I thought Miami against Ohio State played perfect. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a dogfight. A lot of people are picking IU to cover. But man, Miami's getting hot at the right time. Let's look at key matchups, TJ. I assume you're going to go along the line of scrimmage one way or another.
Yeah, I think that's the absolute correct answer. I think it's the obvious one. I do want to kind of spotlight the matchup of D'Angelo Pons versus Malachi Toney. If that's how IU approaches it, shadowing Toney with Pons, or if they say, okay, the other receivers, Marion and Daniels, they're good too. So, and they are. So maybe Indiana will approach it differently and choose to pick sides of the field and let other guys match up with Toney as well. But just for a specific spotlight, Malachi Toney, his big playability, he's a fantastic freshman, really fun to watch. Going up against D'Angelo Pons and the rest of IU's secondary, that's a really, really fun one. And I do think that if Indiana can prevent those explosive plays from Toney, it really limits what Miami's offense is able to do. It does make them significantly more of a ground and pound offense that you would say, okay, if Indiana can get a lead, kind of take away some of that ability for Miami to run the ball, and then also limit what Malachi Toney can do, pretty quickly Miami runs out of avenues to score.
Yep.
So I think that the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball is going to be the obvious one that's going to dictate things, but that's an extra one to watch.
Yeah. I'm going to go Indiana's offensive line against Miami's defensive line. And I know a lot is going to be made out of it. I think Miami's gettable up the middle. And I think people with Ruben, their edge rushers are more power guys than speed guys.
Yeah.
Where Khalil Benson has struggled is with speed guys. He's pretty darn good against power guys.
So you do think this is a Benson game at right tackle then, and not the Ajani playing? Do you think we see some jumbo packages like we saw last week, and against Alabama? Indiana's trotted that out some.
Yeah, I don't know if you see the Carter Smith in the backfield H-back role,
Right.
just because you don't really want to take him off the edge there. But this is going to be, I think I said it last night to Andy Graham, or a couple days ago to Andy Graham. This might be the Riley Nowakowski game. Kid loves to hit. He's going to be used in protection. Holden Stays has been in there as well. Your running backs are going to have to block. This could be a game where you throw James Bamba in there to throw some blocks as well. Or you do
a Johnny as an extra lineman.
You could put a Johnny in there as an extra lineman. I think they've used somebody else in there as well, but it's escaping my mind. There's a lot to do, and I do think that Indiana's tackles are probably better against Carter Smith's good against anybody, but the Benson at the other spot is better against power rushers. Not saying that Ruben Bain can't just bull rush Khalil Benson and go by him, but I think IU has a better chance against a power rusher than a speed rusher. We've seen him struggle against speed, but Indiana's offensive line is as healthy as it's been in a long time.
Yep.
And that was a difference in against Oregon in the Peach Bowl. They're going to pull Pat Coogan. You can chip with tight ends, but Indiana's not going to get off their game plan. They're going to run the ball and at least try to run the ball, and they could run it up the middle as well. So that to me is the matchup to watch. It's really both lines of scrimmages, but it's just a obvious one. But I'll take the offensive side of the ball for IU. TJ, let's go to IU. Will raise the victory flag and win it all if they do this.
This is, I think you can obviously go so many different directions in a huge game like this, but you could go something like not let the moment get too big, right? There's been a lot of talk during this week from the coaches about making sure that you just play the game and do not let the moment overcome you. I think both coaches will certainly attempt to get their players to do that. But there's no getting around that this is the largest, brightest stage that any of these guys have played on. There's no sugarcoating that, right? It's not you can attempt to, calm those nerves and play with the exact same temperament you have all season, but and playing in the games like the Big Ten Championship and like the Rose Bowl and the Peach Bowl previously, or for Miami, the Fiesta Bowl, and that helps get you ready for this. But still, it's just a gigantic setting. But I will go with third down because I do think that, and it was a similar thing to what I said against Oregon last week. I think it will go such a long way towards determining the flow of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if either team is consistently converting on third down, probably by getting themselves into third and short, if either team can consistently do that, it goes a long way towards determining time of possession battle, towards determining who's controlling the tempo of the game. And I both teams are really good. Third down defense, IU is as good as there is in third down offense. They've been unbelievably efficient on third down, largely, again, because they've gotten themselves into advantageous situations on third down. So if Indiana can continue that, dominating on third down, I think they win this one going away.
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about all year, was
Yep.
that winning first and second down sets you up for those third down conversions.
Sure.
And even when IU has been in third and longer, they've hit those receivers. It is, if you haven't seen it already on the jersey, on the journey, it's Elijah Surratt's dad. It's
Yeah.
third and Elijah.
Yeah.
I think he leads the league in third down touchdowns as well. I don't know the exact number, but it's high, and so that's a good pick for me. It's whoever makes the fewer mistakes. I'm gonna rip this page right out of the Bob Knight book of coaching.
Sure.
Whoever makes the fewest mistakes is going to win this game.
Yeah.
Whether it's turnovers, penalties, taking an unnecessary timeout. And I don't think it's talked about enough, but Kirk Cignetti uses his timeout like a basketball coach, I think.
Especially in the first half.
Yeah, especially in the first half, because those timeouts really don't matter all that much. You would like not to use it when the play clock's running down and
Right.
save it for those times when you really need it. But you saw against Oregon when they went down on that first touchdown drive. I forgot what play it was, but after whatever, play 9, and they got down into the red zone, he calls a timeout. They immediately get a tackle for loss after that.
Yeah.
I think he did the same thing at against Alabama, although one of those timeouts was because of the helmet communication issues. So
Yep.
it's it's those kind of mistakes that you burn a timeout that you might need in the second half late in the game to set up a field goal. That's kind of what Ohio State did, right? They burned their timeouts in the second half, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden you've got 25 seconds left and no timeouts, and it really limits what you could do on offense to get you down into that position for a field goal. So penalties. Miami is they have so many penalties that and they're missing, and we haven't talked about it, TJ. They're missing Xavier Lucas, and I knew the name from somewhere. He's the guy from Wisconsin who everybody was suing over,
Right.
And all that stuff. So that's a throwback there. But he's missing the first half of the
Defensive
game
back. Yeah.
because of targeting. There's also some issues, with their secondary with health, and I think the injury report comes out tonight, and then they'll have one each and every day leading up to the game. Could it come out tomorrow too? But it's those mistakes that will cost you. Now, who cares if you get a targeting penalty outside you get thrown out for next year right now? But it's those penalties that really, really set you back. I'm trying to find how many penalties per game Miami has. They are so far down the list that they're below Miami of Ohio. They're 104th in the country at 7 penalties per game, and averaging 57.1 yards per penalty. So they're getting, these aren't pre-snap penalties. These are in-game holding penalties and all that stuff. But the team who makes the fewest mistakes, false starts, getting aligned correctly, having to burn an unnecessary timeout, missed field goals. That was a story in Miami's first round win over Texas A&M, was missing field goals. Are you disciplined when Tony gets the ball? Can you, he's thrown the ball 7 times. Can you keep your eye discipline? Are you going to allow your teammates to do their job and make the play instead of saying, oh, I'm going to play hero ball and take, whatever, go for the hammer hit and leave your guy, and Tony throws a touchdown pass because Miami's running a gadget play on that. It's whoever makes the fewest mistakes is going to win this game. Let's go to best bets, TJ. What do we got here now? For all the people going to Florida, there's no, at least I think, there's no online gambling in Florida. So get your bets in before you leave. The line, according to BetMGM, is Indiana minus 8.5. It opened at Indiana minus 7.5 and jumped up. The over/under is at 47.5. Miami money line is plus 280. Indiana minus 350. What's your best bet here? There are a lot of touchdown scorer props as well. Who do you got?
I mean, that's 8.5 is a large number for a national championship game. I understand it, but boy, that's a lot. Given the emotional journey that I will undoubtedly be on during the game anyway, I certainly would not be betting it. That total is more interesting given the number of possessions that we've talked about that could be had in this game. There could be a low possession game. I think the under probably makes more sense than the over does. I do think that the props, which I'm pulling up right now, passing props for Mendoza, over under 223.5 in passing yards. I would go probably under that number. I don't think that Indiana really wants to play that way.
They don't need to play that way. Yeah, he threw for 5 touchdowns last week. He only had 177 yards. Exactly. But that's because he had drives of 3, 21, whatever, picks. Like, he didn't need to throw for more than that.
Brings me to my favorite bet. The player passing touchdowns is 1.5 for Fernando Mendoza.
What?
And taking the over, you have to take the juice at minus 174. So I would go to the alternate passing touchdowns for Fernando Mendoza. I would take him to get 3+, so 3 or more at plus 205 on the passing touchdowns. Plus 205 on 3 or more passing touchdowns for Fernando Mendoza. I would also take the Kalon Black to score a touchdown. Anytime touchdown for Kalon Black is plus 100.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even his first, I was looking at first
plus
touchdown
650,
scores.
yeah.
Yeah, if you could get plus 650, take it. I could get plus 600 on BetMGM. But, you look at Roman Hemby's plus 750, Charlie Becker plus 750. IU has 5 of the top 6, first touchdown scorers, and 5 of the first 6 anytime touchdown scorers.
Right.
As well. So IU, I think, has more weapons and they're deeper. And we'll see. Charlie Becker has been kind of the X factor here as well. Let's get into score predictions, TJ, before we could let people get back to their lives.
Oh boy. Well, I am obviously it's a national championship game. It would be really weird if I was not nervous in this incredibly long wait for this game to occur. It feels like a very, very long 10 days. But thankfully, my nerves do not have an impact on anything. Indiana is the better team. That has been the case all season between these two. Miami does present a significant number of problems that will need to be dealt with. However, I refuse to believe that this story ends with anything other than the first ever 16-0 national champion. Well, Yale was 16-0 back in the 1800s.
Don't disrespect the 1894 Yale team, TJ.
The first modern era 16-0 national champion. I think that's how this story ends. An unbelievable story, but one that ends with Indiana climbing the mountain and standing alone at the top. I'm going to go with Indiana winning this game 31-17.
Ooh. I'm going to have IU fans looking for the heart medications, their whatever, THC gummies, whatever you use to calm down. I said last night on a Georgia podcast, which I know is weird that I went on a Georgia podcast, but they asked and I obliged. I said 24-21 IU. I debated about going more points. I just think, a lot of times in these big games, there's a filling out period. Now I don't know if that goes away because they've played big games like recently, or if that's how it goes. But I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to go IU 27, Miami 24. I do think this is a really good game. It's both teams are really good. And it's IU's a team of destiny. Miami's the team that's on a heater right now. IU's been on a heater all season. So it's like, both of them, but Miami's hitting their peak at the right time for them.
Right. The losses to SMU and Louisville, I don't think that same Miami team is the one that you're seeing play on Monday night.
But you might not get the Miami team that played against Ohio State.
That's
and
very
if you
true.
get the Miami team who played against Texas A&M and Ole Miss, I think IU wins comfortably. So I'm going to say that they're kind of in the middle of somewhere between Ohio State and Ole Miss, and Indiana wins 27-24. But, man, what a season it has been. It would be a shame. Everything on top of the Rose Bowl victory is gravy, but you're in the national title game. You might as well go win it, right?
That's right.
It's like going to Target and saying, you know what, we're here. You might as well go spend $200, right? That's how it works at Target. It's been a heck of a ride. And it's kind of a shame that the portal takes some of the storylines out of it. Attention away from it, because I'm not thinking about next year yet. It's all about Monday night. So we'll see. We have lots of good stuff up. TJ wrote his Know Your Opponent on the Miami Hurricanes yesterday. That's up on the site. Jamie Jordan and the IU Reactionary will have their preview coming out tomorrow. So I figured put it out on Friday. People are traveling. It's a longer article. Enjoy it. If you are traveling down to Miami, safe travels, whether you're driving or flying. If you see us, please say hi. There are on our boards, we have watch party information for the IU alumni associations across the country. Heartwork Brewing is doing a watch party across the street from D'Angelo's Pond, which was awesome, by the way. That was awesome that the city of Bloomington did that. I know Upstairs has it. Buffalo's will have a watch party up at Carmel and in Bloomington. Everybody's going to be tuned into this game in the state outside of maybe South Bend and West Lafayette, maybe, but they would probably hate watch it anyway. So ESPN 7:30. We'll put all the coverage up there on TV on when shows start. The Big Ten Network is on site starting today. We have their schedule up on the site as well. It's been a hell of a year, not just for the football team, but for us as well. We've bounced back and forth from being independent to making the big leagues with rivals to going back to independent and all that stuff. And so I appreciate everybody who's stuck with us and everybody who's come and join us as well. So whether you want to or not, it's up to you guys. You can subscribe today. After the season, we'll have a lot more in-depth analysis of what's going on. It's $3 a month, $30 a year. It helps us out, give you guys what we think is the best coverage out there. We might not be the ones breaking the stories, but we will give you the in-depth analysis that you guys want as well. So any final words of the last pregame podcast of the year, TJ?
I cannot wait for Monday night to get to watch this team play one more time and hopefully be celebrating a season. Either way, we're never going to forget this season. But
no,
it
goes. It'll take some time to get over not winning a national title. Not a whole lot of time, but you'll be mad about it for about a week or two.
Yep, and I hope that we do not have to find out how much time that takes, because hopefully we are back here on the show and on the site and wherever you're watching it, with whatever family or friends you're watching it with, celebrating the first Indiana football national championship. It's been an unbelievable season, and I know that we're both nervously anticipating the conclusion.
Yep, first game I've actually been nervous for this year, and it's kind of, I don't know, the nerves have been dying down going into the game, I guess. I'm your weirdo. There might be something wrong with me. But yeah, earlier in the week, super nervous for the game. Now, as we get into more data and seeing things, I'd feel a lot more comfortable if I got to see practice like we did for the Peach and Rose Bowls. But we don't get to see them until we're down in Florida on Saturday. But yeah, it's can't wait for Monday, and everybody safe travels down there. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like, rate, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and all that stuff. So, all right.